speaker for this evening. We have Vicki. She'll be working out of the Specialty Speeches Manual, Project 2, Uplift the Spirit. The goal of the speech is to get the audience to take action on their goals. Title of the speech, What's Next?
Fellow Toastmasters, who has heard of the movie The Secret? Half of you. What The Secret is in 2006, it was a movie that came out, and it was the New Age new thought of the law of attraction. Who's heard of the theory of the law of attraction? And what that theory basically says is like attracts like. So if you're thinking positive thoughts, positive things will happen. If you're thinking negative thoughts, more negative things happen to you. I want to talk about that movie and how their theories work. Now, my mom called me up in 2006 and said, "You have got to see this movie. It is wonderful." Now, if you knew my mom, she was always one of these types that had these new age, new thoughts things, and I'm thinking, okay, great, I'll watch it. But I'm the type who has more of a scientific background and I want proof. Yeah, okay, great, like attracts like, but prove it to me. So we'll get back to that in just a moment. After I watched The Secret, it was quite interesting to hear all these thought leaders, how they perceive this theory of law of attraction. A few years later, I got to meet Jack Canfield, who is in the movie, and he explains it a little bit more. And I want to tell you how the movie evolved. Rhonda Bynes had this book, The Secret, and she wanted to make it into this movie with these thoughts. 2 years before, in 2004, Jack Canfield had created a group of new thought leaders that had the likes of John Gray, who wrote Men versus Mars, and so forth. So they would all meet twice a year and share their ideas. And Rhonda had heard about this group and thought this would be perfect for me because their thoughts would evolve into this story that I had written. And they all are preaching the like attracts like. Jack Canfield is big on setting goals, writing down goals, making your goals happen. In fact, he's written a book, The Success Principles, and it builds on one aspect of goals. He talks about writing down your goals or wishes, and he has 101 of things that he wanted to do. And one of them was be in a movie. And he just put that off to the side after he wrote these goals. What happens is if you write down goals, the theory of like attracts like, even if you don't focus on these goals, somehow you've put into action these things and they evolve. And like I said, I was a little skeptical of this. When I went to his training in 2009, we have all these workshops and work things, and one day is spent on goal setting. So I wrote down my goals, and it was in 5 years, what would you like to see? And they're in all different areas, such as financial, career, relationships. Now in 2009, I had just come out of a divorce that took 3 years. And when I got to thinking while I was sitting there and he was explaining the law of attraction, when I read his book, The Success Principles, he talked about this workshop. And I thought in my mind, this would be a great workshop to go to. This was back in 2005. Of course, I didn't know how I would pay for such a thing and how I would go. But in 2009, the divorce was final and I got a settlement and I was like, I'm going to this workshop. That was the first click of, wow, maybe this might work. So I wrote down these goals in 2009. One of them was to double my income because who wouldn't like more money, you know? Another one, like I said, I had just come off of a divorce, and so in 5 years I would like to be in a relationship with another person and have it more fulfilling for both partners. Well, I wrote these down, And like most people, when they come home from workshops, they take this wonderful things that they've just done, they set it on their bookshelf or wherever they put this stuff, and they don't think about it again. I have the fortunate events of going to these trainings of Jack Canfield's quite often. And I went to one in 2014, and then again in 2015. Well, if you look, 2009, or 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I realized when I was going to my 2014, that it was my 5th year. And I knew I was going to have to, again, write 5 years goals. So I went back to my book to see what I had written, because I don't always follow what Jack preaches and, do these daily things. And I looked and I realized that not only had I doubled my income in 5 years, I had tripled it. I was working less time, and I had gotten married. Coincidence? I don't know. It's just one of those things that when you put it down in writing, as he says, it manifests. Now going back to his being a movie, when he wrote this was back in the 90s. He didn't know how he was going to be in a movie. All of a sudden, Rhonda shows up and says, I'm making this movie, and it became this huge, successful movie that he was in. He explains, though, that when he talks about the law of attraction, everybody comes up to him and says, great, I read the book, I watched the movie, why am I not making $100,000 like I have said that I want to do? And he explains it quite easily. Yes, you write down what you want. But if you look at the word attraction, it's A-T-T-R-A-C-T-I-O-N. But last part is action. You have to take action. You can't just all of a sudden decide that I want to make $100,000 or I want to be in a relationship with a loving partner and not take action. You have to go put yourself in the experience of going to meet new people, because obviously the people you know now aren't going to be the right one because you already know them. But you have to take the action in order to make that goal. I'm going to pass around a sticky. Just take one off the top and pass them around. So I want you to think as Toastmasters what one goal it is that you might want to be. Now, for me, I could put down that I'd like to be a DTM, which is the Distinguished Toastmaster. However, I know that I'm on my way to that. And so I want to stretch myself a little bit more. So on my sticky note, I'm going to put down accredited speaker. And what an accredited speaker is somebody who has fulfilled a certain amount of speaking engagements, some paid, some not paid, some to big audiences, some to small audiences, some to camera working. But the ultimate goal is you have to go to convention and present your speech in front of judges. Now, I'm not one to compete, as Lloyd does, because he's wonderful at the debate and the competing. That's nothing that I see myself doing. But I see myself being judged in that capacity. So that's what I am going to do, is write down accredited speaker on mine. I would like each of you to think, do I want to get my CC? If you've already gotten your CC, is there another aspect of Toastmasters that you would like to get to the next level? What is your next goal in Toastmasters? Is it to be in leadership? Would you like to be an area director or president next term? Write down one goal. After you do that, put it somewhere where you'll find it in a year and see if you've reached that goal. Now you can put it somewhere where you see it every day, as the teachers of the law of attraction like to tell you to visualize and to see it. But I don't believe that that has to go. I think if you just write it down, you'll be able to do it. What's next for you, Toastmaster?